Hello, an hour later I'm continuing my saga on the three Vangelis records. And in the previous session, I mentioned that basically those two pressings and editions, which are, I think these are UK editions, and this is the Yugoslavian copy. So how much better those are than the Yugo version, but to tell the truth, I have not been entirely fair with the Yugoslavian edition, and for all fairness sake, I have to mention that with all the ability that they had to press the records, all of those resources, they have done a truly terrific job. And if I am not comparing it against those two absolute monsters in regards to I would say as superlative audiophile quality, this Yugoslavian edition, I would say it sounds absolutely superb on most audio systems if you would listen to. And I mentioned that the RIAA curve is not the one that's the modern curve, but I also have to add to that many people don't even notice that. So if you play early stereo records, some people notice that they sound different from today's records, but many don't even notice that it's happening. And most people who are familiar with this Yugoslavian edition, they never notice that this is not using the RIAA curve. And if you have a curve selection on your phono stage, then you can get more out of it than what usually people can do. And also for my experience, it was unfair towards this copy because I listened to it when the system was warming up. So of course this didn't sound as good as it can. And also on most systems, you would not find such a big difference between the three albums. I would say in 99.9% of the audio systems, and I'm not just talking about consumer systems, but I would say higher quality audiophile systems, you would not have this huge of a gap between them as I observed on my system. And to tell the truth, if you were to hear this on my system, to hear what I heard, you would think it's absolutely superb and stellar. And yeah, it's not half bad, but compared to my I would say I'm just really pampered with those two. Those are really phenomenal compared to that. But is that phenomenalness a quality that is always present? Not at all. So look at my notes that I have here. So these are my notes from today, and these are my notes from 2 days ago. 2 days ago I said very thin sound, use the ATF7 cartridge, not the MC3. And I was listening to it at the minus 12 dB EQ. And today I listened to it with the minus 2 dB point on the EQ, and it sounded great and full-bodied. And 2 days ago it was so the highs were plus 10 dB, relatively hotter compared to what I experienced today. So what on earth is going on? The more revealing your system is, the more you will be able to hear the effect of the power of the electricity in your line, your AC. And of course there's lots of people who are saying that that's hogwash, because if you have a good amplifier, then it should be able to perform at its best no matter what the electricity is. So no matter whether you are getting a pure sine wave from your power plant, or you are getting a sine wave with a lot of harmonic distortion to it, and a lot of extremely high frequency distortion, and also phase issues with the current and the voltage lagging, which is called a power factor problem, that's caused by unequal use. If you have a too capacitive or too inductive usage, the two are not balanced, then the current and the voltage in your wall will not be in sync. And when they are in sync, that's when you have 100% power delivery. That's when 100 VA equals to 100 watts. And when they start to go out of sync, the voltage and the current, then that 100 VA will turn into less and less watts. And if they really out of phase, then that 100 VA, so it means that you plug in your voltmeter and you are still measuring the same voltage in your wall, but it's instead of giving you, let's say that 100 watts, it will give you 30 watts or even less. And that is audible in your audio system. Your amplifier, your sources, everything is extremely sensitive to that. And how the problem with that is that it's extremely difficult to measure it, because, well, there are tools to measure it, and if you work for a power company, you have one of those tools, but those tools are exceedingly expensive. And home amateurs and us audiophiles, we do not have a chance to buy tools that can measure the power factor. However, you can gauge it if you have a stove or a range at home and you want to heat up your dishes. If you are intimately familiar with your stove, then you will notice that sometimes, even if you set it to the same level of heating, it's barely warm enough, and then other days you just crack an egg or two and it's burned to a crisp, and what on earth is going on? And you were gone just for a minute, not more than that. And usually in a minute it's barely getting warm, and now it's just toast. And that's because when the power factor is perfect, that's when you are get maximum wattage. And when that happens, then it translates in an audio system that the sound will be full sounding and with presence and with power. And when your power factor is going off, then the sound will thin out, and it will feel as if the bass is disappearing. And the high frequencies, they still seem to be there, but they will sound hazy and shrill and lacking energy, but irritating to the ear. So that was one quality that came up on this record. And as I have been improving my system, this is more and more apparent. And also it's not just based on the system, but if you have a recording that is higher and higher quality, so it contains a better recorded material, then it's going to be even more apparent. And Vangelis recordings are like insanely that they are like beasts of an audiophile recording. So if you want to test your system, then like especially high frequencies, if you want to test your tweeter, how does that work, what is the capacity and limit and the range of the tweeter, this is the record Spiral side A. Put that on and play it. It's unreal. I just had a major test of this in my system, and eventually I was listening to it so that the sound, the peaks were about 110 dB or a little above that, and yeah, it can handle it, but it's just astonishing, like what high frequency material here is, and when you really let your stereo run with you, then this album feels like a total out of earth experience, like you are becoming one with the sound. It's not your ears anymore. It's a total body experience, and not just total body, total heart, total soul. It's incredible, and the sound is not just sound anymore, but it feels as if the sound comes alive. It is a living entity, a living being, and not just a sound anymore, but it is a living creature, of a life form. It's very fascinating, very hard to describe, but truly an experience that changes your life. And how does it change your life? I can tell you right now an experience how that changed my life. So after listening to that, then I did my first video, first part I showed that, and then I put on the Bach CD. You guys remember that I just recently got the CD collection of Bach's collected works, and this box is the box number 3 of the Sacred Cantatas, and I put on a CD. And normally I've been really happy with these CDs because they bring back memories to me, but I also have their original LP edition, because the cantata cycle was recorded originally on records, and under the Telefunken label, which became Teldec, and then Warner bought it, and actually there's the gap between the CD and the LP is astronomical. So on the LP, this is like okay, it's like a next dimension, and the CD that's like recorded music that we are familiar with. So there's like a tremendous gap between them, and it's been really bothering me to know, and because in my memories what I remember them to be much better, and of course they are even better than I remember them, but I hope them to be closer to the record, but they are not. They are really, really far behind. Yet, after this experience, I've just been listening to this at 110 dB level, and after that I put on the CD very quietly. The peaks are at 60 dB maybe, so I am listening between 15 dB quiet parts to 60 dB loud parts, and I found the experience absolutely rewarding. I am not hung up on the flaws, on the weaknesses. I don't care about it. I can perfectly focus on Bach's works, on the cantatas, and I'm really happy about it. And this is something truly fantastic, and I think this is something that all audiophiles should be looking for, such experiences and such accounts that really it's not about which sounds better, which sounds worse, but how you can find a balance in your life with vinyl and CDs. And to me, this is one way that you can use if you have a superlative system. In my case, my vinyl rig is to my thinking, to my ears, and to my experience, absolutely superb. and I can use the that experience, that inspiration that I get from vinyl records to elevate the listening experience of CDs to the next level. And I think this is what good sound is, that when you listen to it afterwards, even if you listen to something which doesn't sound as good or nearly as good, but you still can find pleasure and joy in that. So as a comparison, those CDs on that CD player, it sounds like looking at the candlelight. And candles are beautiful and gorgeous, and the light they produce is just fantastic. And it can be a very fulfilling experience to look at a candle burning. And it's perfect for quiet contemplation, for the absorption of beauty. But when I compare it to the vinyl, this is like looking into the sun, and not just looking, it's like traveling into the corona of the sun. And it just transforms every part of my being. And after that transformation is done, you can appreciate the candlelight much better. So I hope that these experiences bring a little bit of excitement to the seemingly stale perception of audio, and what people report that CD versus digital, which is better, which is not. If you have other experience, for example, you have absolutely top-notch digital rig and digital recordings which sound and which give you that next level of inspiration, and your vinyl system lags behind, then this is what I can recommend to you, that use the reverse of my experience. Listen to something digital that brings you great joy, brings you to the heights of music, and then listen to LP and find the beauty in that. I think if this would be something that is an easy path, then people would have reported this happening all the time. But unfortunately, I'm afraid that this path works only when you put on music that provides you with a high level of inspiration, that I would say it's almost like a visionary music. And the music of Vangelis is truly visionary. So, yep, I think now I'm just going to finish my spiraling short stories on listening to records, CDs, and my message for everyone is that you can find beauty in everything and in every level of music that you experience, that you listen to, and you really don't need to have the most extreme audio system. You see, there are my big speakers that I designed, that I built, and next to them are my small speakers. I designed and built them as well. And those small speakers, they cost me about $200 to build, so it's like next to nothing. And I can find just as much joy in them as with the big speakers. Of course, these big guys with this system can give me an experience that's like diving in the corona of the sun. And with those speakers, I have the experience that watching the candlelight. But it's really up to you. All of us, we can connect to the candlelight, connect to the sun, connect to the moon, whatever your source is. Just my message, connect, do it, and don't get hung up on details and technicalities. Just put on your favorite recording and enjoy it. So thank you. Please listen to music. Bye bye.